All right, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? Now, I'm back again today because, I've seen a lot of these polling channels just kind of pop up, getting cheap views, and, understandably, they're like, sub to follow my polling content. And it's like, nobody's really going to follow a polling channel. Why would anybody follow a channel just dedicated to one fucking election? Uh, because after this election, it doesn't really matter. However, most of these polling channels, for the most part, they agree with me. They agree that Trump is going to win. However, the metrics and the data that they use is totally fucking dated. It's outdated. That they're using a very fucking small metric to go ahead and do their analysis on the way the election is going to turn out. So, like, say, from what I see in the perspective, and this is based on, like I said, a lot of this landslide that I'm seeing and this outrageous fucking claim that Trump is going to end up winning 532 to 6, right? A lot of it's based on where we're going to be by the time we hit November. And from everything that I fucking see, it's not going to be good for the Democrats whatsoever. And, as you can read in the comments, and in fact, I encourage you to go back and look up the shit that I'm telling you right now, just to verify the shit that I'm telling you. I want you to go back and I want you to look at it because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, Trump's is going to win, but it's going to be like Joe Biden 176 and Trump 320 or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Their data is completely fucking off. And so they make the race seem closer than it should. And I think that this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't invest in political YouTube like they used to for information, truths, and whatnot, because everything seems to be controlled opposition right now on this platform. Very few independent content creators giving you an organic what they see and a perception from what they see in reality. You know, most of these people pretty much act like state actors. You know, on this platform. And they'll put up all these little commercials and advertisements and whatnot, and try to pretend like they know what they're talking about. They try to give the illusion like they're experts, and they're looking at their datas from 538 or whatever the poll that they're coming at you from. But these polls are based on a small sample size. So when they try to sit there and tell you that generally the Democrats win the majority and the Republicans, will win. That's absolutely fucking false. The Democrats haven't been the majority party since before the fucking Desegregation Act. Once desegregation hit, then that's whenever the majority switched to the Republicans. Legitimately, once the Democrats lost the South, and this happened in the 60s, once the Democrats lost the South, well, that was pretty much it for their party. I would say that their party really died in the 70s, but really in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? 64 was probably the last election that the Democrats were going to win. And that's because the Democrats had a reputation of being the Dixiecrats, of being the party of the KKK, and being racist. You know what I'm saying? And basically, ever since then, all they've tried to do is manipulate the minorities in this country, no matter what it is, by assuming the identity of being liberal. They assume the idea of being liberal. They're not liberal, they're communist, but they assume that identity. It's a fake identity. So this is why you get all these brainwashed socialists coming out of these fucking schools that irritate the fuck out of everybody. Not just me, they irritate the fuck out of everybody. Yeah, give me a second, Steven. Let's see here. Uh, okay, give me 1 second. I gotta get on Facebook real quick. All right, I sent it. And so I meant, they assume that identity, right? And the uh, the deal is that they've been manipulating the algorithms. I mean, whenever you're looking at the Democrat Party, and make no mistake, I'm not sitting here, and I'll go ahead and do a separate video on the fucking Republican Party. Maybe next week, I'll do the real platform of the Republican Party. Just so you know, right now, Donald Trump isn't really a Republican. Well, he's a Republican in name only. But, and it's funny that the MAGA people will label all the fucking Republicans in name only if you're going to sit there and call out Donald Trump's bullshit. Whenever he's sitting here, working with the Democrats, much like he did at the end of his term, you know, that's where he, is it at best. But he is a Democratic businessman, exactly. But with that being said, the Democrats are not really liberals, and essentially they don't really give a fuck about democracy. What they do want is centralized government authority. Republicans want the same thing, but they're both battling on whether it should be communism or should it be fascism. At the end of the day, that's really the strategy that we have going on right now. So I sent that link to you on your Facebook. So if you get on your Facebook, Stephen, you should get that link. But with that being said, really at the end of the day, this is what it is. And with that being said, from an anti-federalist standpoint, fascism technically seems a little bit more appealing because it does offer some opportunity for people to, have private businesses and have a little bit more success. Communist, no success. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Stephen Rose real quick. What's up, man?
Hey, if your computer slows up and I got to go to audio, or am I echoing?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. I was making sure.
So, like I was sitting there saying, Stephen Rose, so out of, I've been watching these polling channels and they're like, oh, yeah, but the Democrats usually win the majority vote. That shit hasn't been true since the 60s. So, we'll go back to it, right? Let's go ahead and go over.
Barack Obama did win the popular vote the first time.
He won the popular vote, but out of six popular votes, right? Republicans won the 4, and Obama is the only 2 for the Democrats. I don't really count Carter, because that was a lot of election interference with Jimmy Carter, and he barely beat Gerald Ford. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So I meant, whenever you look at the manipulation, because the Democrats are attached to the State Department, they always vote for the state's interest. They never vote for the fucking public's interest. That's why they're always for taxing the rich. When they say tax the rich, they mean they're going to tax you, because their fucking buddies up there are not going to get taxed. They're excluded from the tax, but you're not excluded from the tax. So what do you think, Stephen?
Well, I want to add to that. Republicans use fascism to help their buddies out in the large corporations, billionaires, et cetera. Donald Trump's even done this too, to be fair. The Democrats do the exact same thing. When they mean tax the rich, they're just taxing the middle class. Because if you look at the way the rules are set up in society, check this out. When you write a ticket, a speeding ticket, a parking ticket, right? If you write it to a rich person, it just ends up in miscellaneous. Like it just goes somewhere, right? Lost in translation, right? If a poor person gets written a ticket that's like a homeless person, they're probably not going to pay the fine, right? They don't give a shit. So that's like why they go to court and they'll get charges for theft. The judge will say, you owe me $100, and you never see the homeless guy again. But the middle class are the ones that actually have to pay for that. Because if I'm written a ticket or you're written a ticket, there's a 9 out of 10 probability it's going to get paid. But if it's a poor person or an extremely rich person, it's just going to get lost in transit somewhere. Like it's just going to get lost in null and void, right? So that's sort of how the Democratic Party and the Republican Party sort of gets away with the rules they do. They impose the rules on the middle class, while corporations and billionaires ultimately get tax subsidies, like what Donald Trump did with the tax cuts, with the Bush tax cuts, right? So he took the Bush tax cuts and said, well, we're going to incentivize large corporations to keep in their jobs here to provide jobs to the people. Did they do that? A little bit, but entirely they didn't really do that. What they did with the money was they just reinvested the money that they were given tax breaks on, and they invested it in real estate, which is why when you see large corporations that are in real estate right now, why we have a housing market crisis right now with Vanguard, BlackRock, et cetera, et cetera. And guess who BlackRock gets tax breaks by? The Democratic Party. And so the Republican Party just does the exact same thing. They help their buddies out at the top and stuff. And so the middle class is being taxed heavily, even though they make up 2/3 of the economy spending. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this microphone off to Prodigal Hill.
So, like, this is what I have the election at right now, and I did my election map, and I know that a lot of people are going to be like, man, that's outrageous. That's outrageous. But I have Donald Trump winning this election 532-6 against Joe Biden. I gave Joe Biden his home state, and I gave Joe Biden D.C. D.C. will never vote for the Republicans because D.C. is the centralized authority, so they're always going to go for communism. I also have the Republicans, and this is the fucking scary thing. I'm not voting, all right? So it doesn't matter. I don't have a dog in the fight. Nobody's going to go ahead and give me a handout. Nobody's going to sit there and pat me on the back saying, Prodigal Hill, you know what? You did a good job or anything like that. I already understand this. But, I also have them taking the House, like, what did I say in there? Like 140 or 246 to like 189. And I also have them taking the Senate 61-39. So they're going to have control.
What about the House?
I just said 189.
Congress?
I already said the Senate and Congress. Yeah. Already gave the numbers. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Sorry.
So they're going to have the House, they're going to have the Senate, and they're going to have the Supreme Court, and they're going to have the executive branches. They're going to have all 4 fucking branches, dude. And I tell you, man, the shit's going to be absolutely fucking crazy because I'm the only one predicting this to be a landslide. And the reason why is first off, like I said, I have all the links in the description. The Democrat Party was dead after its movement and after desegregation. The party was dead when they lost the South and they lost that heavily favored white supremacist base and United States became more diversified. They actually lost. You know what I'm saying? You can go back through the 80s. You can go back through the 90s. Bill Clinton didn't win by no fucking 50% margin. He had 43%, which was less than Dukakis had. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He barely beat Bob Dole with a 40%. Yes. So I meant, the only president that was a Democrat that got over 50% was Barack Hussein Obama. That was those 2 years. That's what you're basing your shit on. You're basing all your shit on a span from 2008 to 2012, a 4-year span where the fucking Democrats actually were the majority, and they've never adjusted their metrics. That's why they got their ass kicked. That's why all the pollsters got their ass kicked in 2016. Anybody with a fully functional brain didn't have to go to your fucking 4-year universities and spend, $160,000 to fucking learn that, 100,000, 300, 400, 500,000 people watching a damn rally was more than the 4,000 to 5,000 people that was watching the Hillary campaign and, fucking just shitting all over Hillary. I'm weird for thinking Trump is going to kill it. Yeah, everybody's sitting there saying it's going to be a close race, and they're all coming out on YouTube, and they're making these placebos saying, but we know that Trump won 2020, all right? Okay. Up until this point, right? Up until this point. Barack Obama had the most votes in U.S. presidential history. You know what I'm saying? He got the most votes. It was fucking 69 million. Trump got 74 million. So Trump got the most votes in presidential history, and you're telling me that Joe Biden got more than the most votes in presidential history. That's the argument that the Democrats are making. It's fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, there was already 25% of the fucking country that supported Donald Trump. When they do this stupid shit, because I know you woke with, and I'll go ahead and let you go on this, right? I'll let you go ahead because you're about to go on. You're about to get on your soapbox whenever I fucking say this. But when you got these fucking Democrats out there in the workplace, and you know, mind you, that number is fucking shrinking because nobody really likes these motherfuckers. But when you got these motherfuckers in the workplace lecturing you on shit that they have no fucking clue what the fuck they're talking about, but they're sitting there lecturing you about your job and how you're fucking climate, doing your fucking job and shit. Well, you know what? That pisses everybody off. And you know what? For every two of you motherfuckers that go out there thinking you're sitting here giving us a fucking lecture and trying to fucking high road, you know, the 10 of us, 20 of us are getting fucking pissed off because we're tired of hearing your shit. So I'll let you go ahead and take over on this one, Steven, because I know you got something to say about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I don't know how. So, are you still on Prodigal?
Yeah, I'm just giving you the solo screen.
Okay. Like I realize that even at the government level, it's real woke. Now I just have to say it, man. And it's like it's nothing personal, but it's like it just is what it is. And it's like I had to talk with some buddies of mine, like insecurity about this. I had to talk with some buddies of mine that I used to work with at Walmart, and like we were having this conversation, and it was like even some of the buddies I work with, and it's like even they're like saying the same thing, like it's really woke, and it's like it's like they kind of treat you like the criminals, if that makes sense. And it's like I'm just I feel that way, and it's like it's nothing personal, but it just is what it is. And like I said, I will say this. It's like I like what they're when they had the DEIs, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and they got rid of that in the colleges. I thought that was a kind of a good idea, because the analogy that I used is like if you're, let's say, hiring and you're trying to meet like racial quotas to fill like positions, what happens when you can't meet enough people in a certain set group that can't meet the qualifications? Then you just have to hire anybody that kind of just looks the part, right? And so what happens is, what if you have like, well, let's just say you got 10 people from Mars, 10 from Venus, and 10 from Mercury, right? And let's say each one of those is a race. And you saying, okay, I'm going to hire 10 people from Mars, 10 people from Venus, and 10 people from Mercury, right? And you interview your candidates, right? But you realize that out of the 100 candidates you have show up, that half of them are from Mars and the other half are from Venus. Like, let's just say, well, 25 are from Venus and maybe, let's just say 5 from Mercury showed up. Let's just say 5 from Mercury. So they say, okay, you got to hire 10 people from Mercury. That's the quota, right? Well, you only had like, well, let's just say you only had 10 people from Mercury, right? So you have 10 people from Mercury, right? You met just a quota to fill it. Now let's say out of all the people you interviewed, like 8 of them said they weren't qualified for that job, right? Like you clearly did your analysis that they weren't qualified for the job, but you have to hire them because you have to meet that quota. So let's say you got 50 people from Mars. You pick 10 of the 50 from Mars, but let's say 20 of them were qualified for that. So now basically you just cut 10 of those, or 8 of those guys, or 10 of those guys that could have gotten 8 of those guys. No. I said,
yeah,
I
it'd have been 10.
Qualified from Mars. You have to cut 8 of those guys from Mars that could have been qualified because you had to fill the guys from Mercury, even though they weren't qualified for the job. So that's what you're seeing and I'm sorry for leaving out Venus or whatever, but the point I was making is you have to take people out from another group that may be qualified for that job because you have to meet the quota for the other.
And then I'll tell you, let me go ahead and add on this, Stephen, because those 8 from Mercury may be better qualified in another field. Not only are you taking those guys from Mercury to fill the fucking positions that they're not qualified for, you're taking them out of the positions that they are qualified for.
Exactly. Facts.
So yeah, that's how the fucking government works right now, man. And go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, and the problem is that's why, like, if you, like, for example, I was talking to a mechanic the other day, Prodigal, and he was an older guy. He was telling me that the guys that were coming into the field now didn't even have any job experience and didn't even know how to change oil, but yet they got their certifications through the to be a mechanic. And he's like, well, how the hell did they even get this degree if they don't even know how to change oil? This doesn't make any sense. And so that's what the workers you're getting now coming into the field for about 80% of them.
Yeah, and so like what we're seeing today, right? And and I told you this the other day. So here's the problem, right? Right now, you have like me being shadow banned on here. Like half the time, my fucking comments won't even come up on videos. That's how shadow banned I am. You've got these other motherfuckers out here who have no fucking clue what they're talking about making videos, whether it be on wrestling, whether it be on fucking politics, whether it be on economics, whatever the fuck. They're given free reign on fucking YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And you look at Twitter right now, or fucking Facebook is like, oh, well, we're not going to let you stream if you don't have 100 people and you don't have this and you don't have that, making up fucking generic ass rules because, let's be real, you're not qualified at your job neither. You're just a goddamn diversity hire. All right? So, I mean, you have all these little fucking administrators sitting there giving their fucking opinions on what makes a good platform. Well, what does that lead to? That leads to 650,000 fucking trending tweets, tweet trends at 650,000, which is like 0.00% of the fucking population. So you have like the media has like no real fucking following at all, and so the fucking this platform is marginalized. Facebook, nobody wants to get on this platform. Why? Because it's mostly spam. All you do is sit there and say, Antonio Brown slapped his dog, and we don't like that. And shit, stupid shit that nobody cares about anymore. Or Caitlin Clark or something. Nobody's gonna watch the WNBA. Why? Because the product is boring. And then you go over there and say, hey, you know what? If you women go ahead and I would rather watch that fucking Legends League of football because that's a competitive sport. Them women are really making hits. They're, putting out athletic performance, and they're scantily clad. You know what? Sports is a fucking male-dominated fucking, that's a male-dominated platform right there. So you've got to get the males in. You've got to get people like me invested into that sport. And
that's what happened with the WNBA. When Caitlin Clark came in, she received a ton of hatred. I don't think it's because she's white. I think it's because she was straight. And when the WNBA is nothing but a bunch of lesbians who hate men, why, like you said, why would I want to watch your product,
Yeah. Well, nobody's watching your fucking product anyways. You're boring. And if you had any fucking talent, maybe I'd say, oh, okay, well, they're trying to haze her in because this bitch has talent. But whenever you're sitting there shooting air balls back and forth up and down the goddamn court, and then all of a sudden you hit a brick and your fans are like, yay, it's a brick. It's not a fucking air ball this time. She's getting closer. That's you, all right? You're fucking just, and there's been guys that have been trying to help the WNBA and trying to, sit there and, trying to, even from the fucking 90s, they wanted to see this succeed because you don't want to see the shit fail if you're a basketball fan. But you know what? These fucking uppity fucking women come up on ESPN and they're sticking their nose up in the air like, oh, we don't want to shorten the 3-point line. Oh, we don't want to lower the goal so we can have dunks. We don't want to make the fucking sport entertaining. You just need to go ahead and get along with it. And then they're like, if you lower the rim, then it's going to mess up my shot. And I'm not going to be able to, bitch, you don't got a shot. You can't hit the side of the barn with that goddamn basketball. We're just trying to help. So you can sit there.
It was good the first 10 years.
It wasn't even good then, dude.
2007, 2008.
It wasn't good then. And that, that's, It wasn't good then. It wasn't. It was okay. It might have been better than it is today. But you need your Babe Ruths in there, and you need your Michael Jordans, and that they never fucking progressed from where they were. They've only steadily regressed.
Yeah.
And so you've never had those captivating players. A lot of it may be because they need to develop the NBA to fucking fit women, and because I guarantee you can go back and watch fucking like if I'm watching the Olympics and I'm watching something that females are doing, it's gonna be fucking gymnastics.
Like me personally, I like the women in wrestling, and I like college basketball for women.
No, I mean no. It's all kind of the same to me personally.
What about wrestling?
No, not really. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, the only ones that really did women's wrestling right, and I thought it was really good at the time, was TNA. But you look at the WWE, and you look at their women wrestlers like AJ Lee and stuff like that, and it looks generic as shit. But then again, so do the guys. So I mean, the whole product is kind of, fucking failed. But gymnastics, because them women can do a lot of stuff that guys can't. You know what I'm saying? And so that's good. Figure skating, stuff that they're graceful at. Stuff that men can't do. And whenever a woman does it, it's like, wow, she's got a lot of fucking talent, even to a degree like some of the tennis. But it's like there's certain sports that they do. Basketball, like I said, they need to make it more accessible for women to go ahead and show off any kind of basketball skills that they have. They're not going to be able to do the same stuff that men do. You know what I'm saying? So if lowering the goal is one of those things to go ahead and,
I'd say lower it 2 inches, or maybe even 3,
Yeah. I'd say, lower it. Just to where they can go out there and you can get some of their, small forwards to be able to dunk. You know what I'm saying? So, fucking, but this is the left as a whole. And then they use this. This is a placebo. And everything that they fucking stand on is a placebo because they don't want to go ahead and put out inequalities. They just want, because, like I said, for the most part, they just want you to either like them because they're gay, because they're female, because of their race, whatever the fuck it is.
Or they hate men, or they hate men.
Yeah, that's what they get. It's all fucking placebos. Well, nobody's going to follow that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's a dying formula. So when you're lecturing everybody, you're having to sit there and tell everybody that they're this and they're that. People are not going to like you. And this is why I say that, once we go ahead and we take in consideration of their propaganda bill, that HR 5736, that HR 5181, the internet censorship bill, which was which was probably the Republicans more than it was the Democrats. But the Democrats take advantage of it more. You go ahead and look at the inflation that they had when they shut down the economy, and you look at the prices going up, and then you go ahead and take that Inflation Reduction Act, which, what did I tell you years ago whenever they went ahead and passed it? There's going to be some businesses start to shut down because they were going to be inflicted by this fucking Inflation Reduction Act. The Family Dollar's fixing to close down, Red Lobsters, Walgreens. You're going to have a shitload of fucking businesses suddenly close down, and all these people are going to be out to work. You think that fucking those people are going to turn out and vote for you? No, they're not. They're not. So
if you think the crime rate is bad now, just wait till you got 80% unemployment rate by 2030. If people feel like, if I can't even afford food, I mean, nevertheless, even have a family and children and live the American dream, which that's probably already gone by now. If you're telling me I can't even afford to eat, then what is even the point of living? So people are just going to say, okay, well, if I can't access food or water or shelter, I'm just going to have to take it from somebody else.
Yeah. And so, we see exactly what they're doing. And dude, I was I drove into Waco today. Had to get my dad a Father's Day gift. So I don't really I don't listen to fucking talk radio that much on either side, Republicans or Democrats. but I went ahead and kicked it on to talk radio and listened to a little bit of Sean Hannity. He had this guy on from the Trump, you know, he was part of Trump's administration. And I could tell you one thing right now, because I've been saying the shit and I've been saying the shit on my YouTube channel, and other people have been coming out here and talking about the shit. And this should really fucking worry you if you're a fucking Democrat. You should be kept up fucking nice. But this motherfucker was talking about USC 18 242. Really, it's 241 and 242. But he was sitting there saying that, you know, what, because, you know, it's always about Trump. Whenever they're talking about, oh, it's them attacking Trump, they don't really tell you all the shit that they do to you when they create a medical apartheid, whenever you lose your job because of some stupid fucking decisions that they make. No, it's only about Trump. It's all about Trump. Like, Trump's the only one ever affected by this shit. They don't talk about the other people like you and I who, you know, ultimately had to fucking lose our jobs, or, you know, we had to be fucking quarantined or whatever the fuck. You know, they don't talk about that. They'll talk about, oh, well, it's all about Trump. No, but he was right about one fucking thing. Under USC 18, 241, and 242, that is, you know, depriving people using the powers of freedom and the conspiracy to deprive, you know, to go ahead and deprive people of these fucking freedoms and shit. You know, that, you know, whenever, if death is involved in that, and we look at all these people right now with the, you know, then technically the maximum punishment is actually in and of itself death. And they're already starting to talk about this shit on, you know, public radio and whatnot. So is this going to become the new norm? The Democrats should be fucking worried, because a lot of you guys right here that work in these little fucking platforms and shit, whether it be administrators, whether it be in the media and whatnot, if they go ahead and pull that card out, you better have your fucking excuses of why you went ahead and back, you know, quarantining and back shutdowns and back mandates. You better have that excuse ready to go, because these people, like I said, you're not really voting this year for Republicans or Democrats. That is a fucking placebo. This year, and I told you this, Stephen, over the phone the other day, you're voting for tribunal or fucking lynch mob justice. And that's just the way I see it.
And you're voting for either, you're either voting for Marxism, socialism, or you're voting for fascism.
So, yeah,
Yep.
that's what's coming up. I think that right now the country is going to be turbulent by the time it gets to the election, and the economy is going to be so bad that, well, it's not going to be the worst, but it's going to be a hell of a lot worse than it is right now. And by the time that election comes, you're going to start to see any of these light blue states. This is why I went ahead and gave them the Democrats 189 in the House and the Republicans like 246. That's because all of these light blue districts that are with the numbers that they have, because like I said, their margin is from 2008 to 2012. These are the numbers they're still relying on. So that's like, that margin is like more than 10% in error, more than 10%. So if you're a light blue state, or if you're a light blue district, more than likely that's going to turn red, you know, because their margins are that far off that you just won't be, even a lean Democrat will likely turn red. And like I said, I can probably say, listening to people from California and listening to people from New York, you'll know for sure it's going to be an ass whooping if New York flips. If New York flips, all the blue states are going to flip. They're all going to go with New York. You'll know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't think that California or New York would turn red. I think New York, if anything, would, but I don't know necessarily if California would. But if Trump wins in a landslide, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it would have been in the amount that you're saying. I think Biden would win still a couple of states, but I don't know exactly what states that's going to be.
DC and Delaware?
Right.
It's going to be DC and Delaware. He'll win his home state. I'm pretty sure. So I give him Delaware. and I give him DC. But like I said, talking to these people from California, and that fucking state is light blue.
Hey,
And then
what's gonna be funny?
what's up?
What if like they announce the winner and then like it's like Trump's about to go to the podium and they go the college electoral system has been rebooted and the Delaware if whoever wins the state of Delaware wins it, Biden wins the state even though Trump won the other 48.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just gonna say that Delaware decides to save the fucking nation, and it's kind of like what they would probably do too. I mean, it's not going to stop the mass uprising and people going to fucking, and it's not going to be no January 6th. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be a January 6th. And the reason why I say this, right, is, you know, you can go back and look at it. You can go back. Twitter is the media hub. So anybody who's going to lean left or, you know, vote for Joe Biden is going to go to Twitter for a lot of their information. And regardless if Elon owns it or not, that's just where they're going to turn to, because that's where all the polls are. That's where all the media starts, right? It all starts on Twitter, like the Israel-Palestine thing, and then it just goes out from there. And so that's the media hub. So that's the leftist space as a whole, as you can count. So when you go to Twitter and you only see like 650,000 tweets for a trend, whatever's trending, well, you can times that by about 20, and then that's probably going to be the estimate for about how much the base actually is, you know? So, like, you're looking at a base for the Democrats that I see right now at about 6 million, and that's being fair. And I base this off of the January 6th trials, and I based this off of the recent Israel and Palestine thing, because that was the biggest fucking trend on Twitter. And the Israel-Palestine thing on Twitter really only got about 4.6 million. I mean, there was more people talking about it, but it was like leftist. It's always like leftist people who, you know, talk about it. But like I said, looking at, you know, real life and people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, there wasn't that many people really talking about it. Just, you know, the fucking radicals who have kind of marginalized. They've marginalized themselves. I don't have to marginalize them. They marginalize themselves. So looking at the Trump base, we see a hell of a lot more fucking Trump supporters than we do fucking Biden supporters, you know? I believe that's going to be in every fucking state. In every state. So, I mean, and it's going to just get worse whenever the election comes up. If, you know, these jobs start to go under and you start losing all these jobs, it doesn't matter if it's California or New York, and that crime starts to go up, they're not going to blame Trump for that. They're going to blame Biden for that. And the Democrats have already accepted responsibility for it already, you know?
So they're not. Oh, breaking news. Joe Biden's son got convicted today.
Well, see, I don't watch that neither. I feel like it's the same thing as like the fucking Trump conviction. It just seems like a placebo to me. So I don't care. They, you know, throw this shit out there to try and distract people. But like, if like, okay, for example, Tim Pool will invite Donald Trump onto his show. And then he's like, well, you know, we need to do something, you know, illegal immigrations, and you're not that bad on you're not that bad on legal immigrants. You just don't like illegal immigrants, and yada, yada, yada. They're talking about illegal immigrants. Not one do you, you know, talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. Not once did he fucking mention about the fucking mandates. Not once did he fucking mention about the fucking stimulus drops and the inflation. And not once did he ever fucking mention about, you know, not repealing any of the media bills that made it propaganda. You know, he doesn't ask the fucking questions that people want to know. They don't ask the questions. How do you plan to fix all this State Department bullshit? Should we go back to pre-2001 now, since we're not, you know, under any kind of attack? since we haven't been in any kind of real major war, should we go back to pre-2001 type of legislation? He doesn't fucking ask that shit. They just asked us, well, what do you think about Hunter Biden's laptop? Hell, fucking Hunter Biden's laptop ain't gonna fucking put fucking food on the table now, is it?
Exactly. It's not gonna pay the bills, not gonna lower taxes for us.
Yeah, so it's just like fucking placebo, dude.
Would you make the argument that, and maybe I'm going on a limb saying this, maybe our votes are placebo? Like, and I'm gonna turn my camera on for this because I think I feel like our the votes are placebo, because if you think about it, what are some of the things that we Americans would love to see on the ballot? Term limits, the lowering of property taxes, the lowering of taxation in general, to make food more affordable, stuff like this, to help our cost of living decrease, meaning like that way, with these taxes lowering, it'll help us, our dollar can stretch more. How are we able to do these things if they're not even on the ballot to vote for? In my opinion, what are we really voting for?
Yeah,
Like,
big fucking placebo.
Like, you got Donald Trump, right? In my opinion, I would say that Donald Trump is probably more pro-government than Biden is, and that's saying a lot. Why would I want to be compelled to vote for either one of these candidates if they're not going to help improve my way of life?
Yeah,
and things that I want.
Yeah, and like I said, we could eliminate like some of the fascist taxes, like the income tax. That's why they constantly have to get us into war. This is why they're trying to push us into the fucking Israeli crisis. This is why they're trying to push us into the fucking Ukrainian, Russia shit. The Ukrainian and Russians, and technically, really, at the end of the day, the average Palestinian and the average Israeli, they're the same fucking people. You know what I'm saying? They're the same fucking races, the same fucking ethnicity, kind of. You know what I'm saying? They have different ideologies to some extent, but they're essentially the same fucking people.
And did we have a vote? Did we have a vote to vote the $95 billion package they sent to Ukraine? Do we have any say in that protocol? No.
And you'll get these guys out here. You'll get these people like on TYT, where they're like, oh well, the problem is that the reason why these kids are coming out so dumber now is because we don't give enough to the education. We don't put enough. Bitch, we put in $810 billion. That's almost $1 trillion.
Yeah.
If you can't fucking educate a kid for $1 trillion fucking dollars, then you don't have no business in the education industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you got these fucking 4-year universities that are charging astronomical fees, but instead of addressing that the fees are too fucking high and that they should be lowered, no, they say, let's go ahead and put the taxpayer on the hook for it. No, you don't. There's a lot of fucking shit out there that is absolutely a waste of fucking money. And, a lot of this shit needs to cut. You've seen some of the pensions, and that's exactly what I was saying, is that when you get these government pensions and they're on the hook for these pensions for years and years and years on end, well, you've got to pay those fucking pensions.
And check this out. We're not even talking about the pensions on the federal level. That's just a pension on like the county level. Just imagine on the state or the federal level. We haven't gotten on that yet.
Yeah. And so you wonder why you have your budgets increase when the state takes over more. Whenever the fucking government takes over more of the fucking economy, the more inflation goes up and the lower the quality goes down, just like you said. So they're hiring all these diversity hires. They're trying to go out there and, effectively, but that's not how the economy works. In the private sector, people expect quality. You know what I'm saying? It's a competition. You're trying to put out the best product for the lowest price. The government doesn't have any competition. They just eliminate their competition. So this is why the quality of everything goes down. And you'll have these stupid socialists come out here, and a lot of them have no business. They're fucking entitled But they'll come out here and they'll make the argument that, oh no, we just hate the poor. We just hate the poor. That's their fucking argument. No, the quality of living was a hell of a lot better with the fucking tax cuts, and that's provable. We've already tested your fucking Keynesian economics, and right now the fucking debt went from 11 trillion all the way to fucking 19 trillion, just under Obama.
Well, that's not also to mention too that a lot of the time when you're taxing and a lot of the money that goes towards all these like foundations and stuff, a lot of these people barely even see the fruits of the labor of where that money's going. It's just a bunch of like organizations that are nonprofit are just sucking in all the money, and even some of their guys that are running it that are at the top, they're on high salaries. Where do you think that money's coming from? The taxpayers.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm gonna have to wrap this video up because my phone's almost dead. But I've got Trump winning it in a landslide. I got the Republicans winning it. I think that, like, right now the economy is just in shambles because I've ran the Keynesian stuff so far that I don't know if they'll be able to get it back under control. I would be really, really surprised. However, when the Republicans get in, it's just a changing of the guards. I don't think that rights and powers back to the people. I just think it's going to go to a more religious, theocratical authority. That's what I believe happened. They're already setting up the legislation to go ahead and get that done.
Okay. All right, well, if your phone's going to die, let's just go ahead and end it here. Hey, man, hopefully we can do this again. I'm off Fridays, Saturdays. I don't know what your times are you work, but you're available then. When I'm off at 2, like, every day for the next 4 weeks, at least till July 5th, and I got to work afternoons after that, but I'm still going to be off Fridays and Saturdays, so that's good. So for the next 7 weeks, that's my schedule, so.
All right, man. Well, I'll go ahead and end it, dude, and we'll talk later.
Okay, all right, bye.
All right, bye.